I'm here, Kevin Fernandez, with my friend Lee Marshall, and we're so excited to talk to you today about how to navigate uncertainty. And I know that there's a lot of businesses kind of reopening already and slowly getting back to normal, but trust me, I do feel strongly that uh, the uncertainty that we've been dealing with is going to keep going for quite a long time, even if it's not at the same level. So, before we really get going, I just want you to really get to know a little bit of Lee Marshall and what she's been doing, her background. So, Lee, if you don't mind, you share a little bit about uh, your background with us.
We had been in Huntsville for 22 years, moved here for my job in television. I had the opportunity to have a great career in television news and was a news anchor and a reporter journalist for 20 years. And so we moved here 22 years ago for a job in television. Um, had a great opportunity to tell some amazing stories, meet amazing people across the Tennessee Valley, both at my time at 48 and at 19. Lifelong friends and community contacts that are still impacting us today with what we're doing for kids. But my why is really to make a difference and to be a voice for children in foster care. It's personal to me. I was born into foster care. And so in 2004, while I was still in television, we created the Kids to Love Foundation. And that was really our way of meeting the immediate needs of children in foster care, a chance to give back. And since we started 16 years ago, we've had a direct impact on the lives of more than 265,000 children. We're based in Madison. Our core service area is the Tennessee Valley, but we have programs that reach the entire state of Alabama, Tennessee, Mississippi, Georgia. We've even had direct impact across the Southeast. And some of our programs, like our meth tip line, has even reached internationally. So it's really been a grassroots to global effort. We do that as an organization where we run debt free. We accept no state or federal funding. We have a very generous community that supports what we do to make a difference in the lives of kids. And, the way I say it is we get to change the life of a kid every single day. And to have work that is significance instead of success is a completely different mindset than what I came out of in the news business after 20 years. But I got to tell you, it's exactly where God wants me to be. And I love being able to bless these kids every single day.
Hmm. Amazing. Yeah, no, this is a phenomenal story. And, I've been following you guys, for a long time now, but especially during this whole quarantine and everything. And you guys are committed and you are pushing through and you're innovating and you're doing a lot of things they weren't doing before. Um, Tell us a little bit about what kind of planning has gone into what you're doing now, or some rituals, new processes. Just how are you navigating this whole situation with your team?
It's been really hard. And I think that what we have experienced is not unique to our organization or to business. I think what makes us run successfully is we really run as a business, and that's a different approach as a nonprofit. We were very blessed to be in a strong position with no debt from an organizational standpoint. Our overhead is minimum. I mean, and so I felt like we were in a good position to be good stewards of what we've been given in the past several years to weather this storm. And I'm very proud that I've not had to lay off, furlough one single employee. And in a nonprofit world, that's very rare. Um, what we've also done is, I've taken a step back and I've really rethought everything, things that programs and approaches that we'd already put all this thought into and figured it out, and this works and we tweak it every year. We had to rethink every way that we served our kids. We were deemed essential from the very beginning. So our team continued to serve in this entire pandemic, but how we served and how we approached that, we we stopped business as usual to focus on the service. For us, it was um, really understanding the scope of the situation, knowing what that was in our community. Our generation, we've never been through anything like this. I mean, a
Right.
pandemic. Um, For me as a leader, I instantly went to become a student, and I started learning of how do I become a strong leader and navigate our team so we don't drop one service to our kids. It was a hard time. I joke that I'm now on my fifth strategic plan for the year because every time we've done it, it's like, yeah, let's do it a different way.
Right.
But it has been something that we've never dealt with. And the other thing that I think is really important when you look at like Maslow's hierarchy of needs,
Hmm.
this is the first time in our generation that we have had it really go to impact our safety. And for me, with Davidson Farms, we take
Hmm.
custody of girls, being able to feed our girls. I instantly became an Instacart shopper. So that was one change of behavior of how we navigated.
Yeah.
And I'm getting all this food, and Jeff's like, "Why are you ordering all this food?" I said, "Because I have a house full of girls that if we come up on a shortage, I've got to be able to feed them." And so for me, it was stepping back, it was understanding what the new absolutes were and embracing those sooner than later. I think a lot of times people have a problem with change, and sometimes change can be good and sometimes change can be bad. But as a leader, it really shows how quickly you can embrace, respect, and initiate change as to whether or not your organization or your business is going to be successful, because change is inevitable. It really
Mm.
is.
Right.
How we respond to that is up to us. Another thing that we've done that I've been really, really proud of, that I felt the conviction from the very beginning, and I think this goes back to the years of the news business, is what was going to be our voice during this time of the tragedy, of the pause, as it's been called. And for me, you know, I'm an observer of social digital media. I love that world. I love watching metrics, and I love, all of that. Um, I've been very disappointed at people who have become opportunists in the middle of the
Hmm.
pandemic, that have come in and almost been a bully to, garner up all the funding available. Um, that has been very disappointing to me. I, from the very beginning, communicated with our team, our voice is going to be service because we're not going to stop serving. It has changed the way we served. Had planned to open, like, for instance, food boxes, a new partnership we were working to develop with the Rose of Sharon. And we had planned, in March to launch that in April, and we were going to do it once a month. Well, when the pandemic hit, we reached out to the Rose of Sharon and I said, can we do that now? And can we do that weekly?
Hmm.
And so this has forced us to change for the better. And now we're actually feeding foster families. And these are kids that are home every single day.
Wow.
That's a
Yeah.
bigger draw on the foster parents budget. And so for us, it's just really understanding who we serve, why we serve them, and then asking the question of what's the best way that we can serve to support them to keep our kids healthy, safe, and happy where there's minimal disruption. They've had enough in their lives.
Oh, absolutely. Oh my gosh, you guys are doing amazing things. And you mentioned something very critical and profound, and that is that during for the first time, we've our safety has been attacked. That we have had to worry about our safety here in the United States, and really, I think that that's something that we should really think about how lucky we are to be in this country and to
Hmm.
be in the situation that many of us are, where there are a lot of people that are way worse than us, even here in the United States. Thankfully I haven't had any family members or anything get diagnosed with the disease. So really, at the end of the day, that's all that we can really ask for, is to be healthy, to stay healthy, so that we can keep going and doing the things that we want to do. But also, again, just being grateful. I feel like so many people focus on the negative and what's going wrong, and that tends to paralyze people from taking action. And that's the worst spot to be in, because I feel like if you're letting fear stop you, the best way to do it is to take action. And by taking action, that fear will dissipate, and then you can continue doing things And like Martin Luther King said, you don't have to see the whole staircase to take the first step,
First step. First
right?
step. Yes.
So I feel like a lot of people, they just need to have that faith. And I
Mhm.
feel like this you're the perfect person to talk to about this, because you've been able to continue taking action and doing all these things. But it's also because, first of all, you're not doing this for your own benefit. You're doing this because you have a big passion for helping others, especially the foster children. And humans, we are hardwired. We tend to do a lot more for others than what we would do for ourselves. So when we get to focus on something that is outside of ourselves, of our purpose and passion for helping others, we're going to do a lot more. But also, it requires to have a strong foundation during a time like this. So what do you feel? And again, it could be things that happen over the years that allow you to build up your faith, and for you
Mhm.
to have the kind of conviction and certainty that you're not going to know every day how everything is going to happen, but you go into every day with the certainty that you will make things happen, because you're not going to give up, and you're just going to do whatever it takes, and you're going to ask whoever you need to ask to help the children. Like, where does that come from, and what kind of mindset is the one that's allowing you to be of service the way you're doing it?
You know, I think when someone finds their passion, and there is just so much strength in that. And for me, it's my calling. It's what I'm supposed to be doing. Faith is a big part of my life, and this is what I have been called to do. And so, when you find that, and sometimes it's it was a journey to find that, and to really, and then to define that. So for me, that's really where that fire in my belly comes from. Um, and it's building those relationships. We have been in the community for 22 years here, and building those relationships and knowing that, okay, I need this. I know who to call. And you've got those relationships established where I'm not going to call you often, but our donors know that if I'm calling because I need something. But what I have seen in this that has just been so encouraging is, I spent a lot of time reaching out to the donors, updating them on what we're doing, how we're handling things. But then I have been so blessed by the number of supporters and donors in our community that have reached out to me, that have said, "Hey, I'm seeing what you're doing. What do you need?" And that's so moving, to be able to do that. When we talk about fear, for me, instantly, it was, I kind of circled the wagons of, our Kids to Love team is really it's extended family, because we are in the trenches with these kids 24/7. We've girls that live full time at Davidson Farms that we take legal custody of. So for me, I had to circle the wagon for both my immediate family and my work family and the children that we serve, to assess the needs. I had to understand that I could not over communicate, because there were so many messages coming at people. We would have a team meeting on Zoom, and I would give an update. Everything was fine. Well, there's so many messages that people are being hit with through, news coverage, watching the numbers that's going, social media. You can be real negative, as you were saying. And so for me, I just had to really be selective of what I consumed, not to the point of not being informed, because you have to be informed, but it's just like anything. You need to do it with limits and really bumpers to make
Mm,
sure of that. So for me, it was understanding where my team was. We had team members whose spouses, their job were impacted, family members that were impacted, and also the fear of health. I have a daughter who
mm,
has asthma. She's in that at risk category.
mm,
Had several team members that, could be defined in those at risk categories. So for me, it quickly became, how do I keep my people safe? How do I give them the support that they need? We shut down the center to being open all the time. But we had Christy at our center, that because that's her job. She's over the warehouse and the center. And so we were able to communicate to social media that if a foster parent needed something, we're still here serving, but the door may be locked. So call us.
mm,
And so we have not had to turn any foster parent away that's had any requests for support.
Hmm.
Our team's
Uh,
been in every week doing food boxes. It's been critical, you know. And then the other challenge for me that are those ripple effects of what's going on. You know, some of my team members, you know, I have two kids. We all instantly went to homeschooling.
hmm.
For me as a leader, understanding the pull on my team of trying to balance that and to be just respectful and responsible and encouraging to give them the time they needed to be a parent. Um, I think that was very important. And I think, you know, as we look at navigating uncertainty going forward, that's something that every business is going to have to look after because, you know, we don't know how long this is going to go. I think we're all kind of tired of Zoom calls, but I do believe that Zoom calls are going to be, you know, the wave of the future. And I'm just
Hmm.
thankful for technology because I still feel like that we've been able to stay in contact. It's not the same as seeing someone. I'm a hugger. I like to see somebody. I like to hug them.
Yeah.
So there has been that distance, but I still feel like that we've been connected. Another challenge that I've faced in this is still trying to do business in the middle of
Hmm.
a pandemic. Um, you know, I feel like I told him the other day, I said, I feel like Wile E. Coyote when he was trying to push a boulder up a mountain, you know, that the boulder was 10 times the size of him. We have some projects because not everyone is working that are forced to move back our original date, but we're still going to get them done. You know, we're just having to rethink how we approach things
Hmm.
and not be frozen. I think that's the biggest thing is just don't let this paralyze you and put you in a state of fear.
Right. No, absolutely. You know, and you mentioned something as well about, not trying to take advantage of the situation or people not be up and opportunities during this whole time because really people are suffering and there's the right way to do things and people will remember. People are paying close attention to businesses, to organizations right now. What you do during this time is going to have a huge impact on what your brand is, your reputation for the long haul. So
Hmm.
I think people really need to be mindful of that. Like me personally, I know people in our business that because people are scared for their health, they're taking advantage of that, calling on people like, hey, you should do business now because you just never know, right? And that's leading with fear. And I just refuse to do that. I'm not going to go that route. Um, Now, you have to balance like, hey, you still want to serve, you still want to be there for your clients and do the things. So, what our team is doing, we are reaching out to clients, but just checking in, like, hey, how's it going? How's it? How are you doing? How's the family doing? And just checking in. And if if it's on their mind and they bring it up that they want to discuss anything with us that we do that we can help them with, then we'll schedule an appointment for that. But we're not calling with the idea like, hey, um,
Right.
let's do business now because you just never know with this virus when it's going to get you and your family. Like that's just not right in my mind. So, um, how can you be of service and really be there for your people? Um, Now, not being paralyzed, that's for a lot of people, that's easier said than done because again, we're in, it's overused, but unprecedented times, right? And a lot of people don't really even know how to keep moving forward, what to do next, what not. So, are there, I don't know, is there one, two, three things that you do on a daily or weekly basis to keep you grounded, to be able to allow you to continue taking action and have
Hmm.
that confidence?
You know, for me, I started doing this about 3 or 4 years ago. I started putting in think time in my calendar.
So important.
Um, I am, you know, one of those things of, and some people, you know, I don't have a problem making a decision if it needs to be made immediately, but if it's something that's bigger, you know, I'll say, let me think on that. Because so many times, if I take that step back, then I'm going to see things from a different. I try to look at things from every point of view, a 360 point of view, to make sure that I'm not missing something. And then after I have my think time, then I approach, you know, people that I trust and I run it by them. And hey, I'm thinking about this. Am I missing something? Having that those accountability partners that only have the best interest of for us, our organization, how we serve. Um, there's no personal gain in any of that, and we can have those very real conversations having those people. So to me, thinking, having a network of people I trust, and then sometimes it's just going for a walk. Sometimes, I mean, now, don't get me wrong. Last week, I literally worked 100 hours last week. I mean, we have worked
Wow.
harder in this pandemic because we're going to come out of this stronger. We're already laying groundwork to launch some programs next year that will be absolutely revolutionary. And so we're taking the time for the pause to get ready to pounce. Um, but, to me, sometimes just taking a walk, taking a bike ride, getting out, using exercise in that think and meditation time, that has been one of the most effective things that I have found. So when I make a decision, it's the right decision. I don't want to have to come back and, I listen, we're only going to touch it one time. We're going to do it one time. We're going to get it right out of the gate. Those kind of things are real important to me. So I would rather put that time and energy in on the front end. And I think especially now when you look at uncertainty and, every employer is looking at how do we bring our team back safely?
Yes.
Um, I know that you were on with my good buddy Kristen Scroggin. She was talking about
Mhm.
communications. If companies have not utilized her in some of her training, we did a training as a team on Zoom for her generational diversity because we have, a diverse group in our team. And so, taking advantage of things like that we normally wouldn't have time or we wouldn't make time for,
Right.
making time because it gave us so much perspective. And then to have her training on generational diversity in the middle of the pandemic, she was
Yeah.
able to speak specifically to, hey, Gen Xers, you're loving this, baby boomers, you are struggling. So it
Yes.
really it really was wide opening to me. But there's just power in taking a moment to think. There's power in that pause. And then that way you're never coming from a place of anger or regret.
Mhm.
You're making a decision based on all of the elements. And I think that for me, that is a critical thing. And like I said, I build in time in my schedule 2 or 3 days a week just to think through this thing. And then I start me a list of, okay, here's what you got to think on. And I'm like, so yeah, but it works for me. That really works for me.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Now Kristen, we did have that conversation, and it was amazing. She's amazing at what she does, and something that she mentioned is like, how are you going to get these millennials to get back to the office when they've been as productive from the house, even with the kids at
Right.
home? So imagine once they're at the house and the kids are back at school, and they don't have to homeschool while working. Like, how much more efficient can they be without having to show up to the office every day? And the other thing is, you know, a lot of people have the certain like clothing aspect, right? Like I haven't worn a suit in 2 months. I mean, like,
Right.
and really,
Hey,
I'm
you
loving
better
it.
put one on to make sure it fits. That's
I
kind of
know,
how I
right?
was with just saying.
I know. I mean, like, I haven't put a suit on in 2 months, and I'm like, wow, I really don't miss it one bit. So I know there's going to be a lot of businesses that they might have to enforce that dress code, or maybe realize, like, hey, the dress code is not as important as we thought. Obviously, I mean, if you have a meeting with a big client, you're not going to show up in t-shirt and,
Right.
and flip flops or whatnot. But um, I think this has been a great time for people to really think through all of these things. And the other thing that I wanted to mention is a lot of people watching this may think like she schedules time to think. Like, what does that even mean? Because I mean, they might think like I think every day, and I think that's funny, right? Because the average person, I believe that they're lucky if they really think 2 to 3 times a year. Usually, when there's big events like this or big events in their
Right.
life, because I think a lot of people confuse mental activity, mental shatter with thinking, right? So just to be very clear to people, like if somebody wants to adopt this practice and add this to
Right.
their schedule, like when you say you schedule time to think, how is that different than the average person say, I'm just thinking about stuff just randomly?
One of my gifts is I'm a visionary, and everything that we've done with Kids to Love, um, God has put that on my heart. He was like, "You need to do K-Tech, this workforce training initiative." Okay, well, that's the vision. There is so much to do to bring a vision to life.
Hmm.
And a lot of people are great at having visions and ideas, but really where the rubber meets the road is how they can execute that, how they can
Yes.
implement it, execute, and execute with excellence.
Yes.
And that's for me where my thinking time comes in, because I have all these ideas. Um, I know where I want to take the organization. I know how I want to continue to serve like we've never served before, to continue to develop new lanes, new paths on our lane that we're committed to serving in. And that just takes time. It takes
Hmm.
time to, and through that thinking time, strategic planning comes into place. Um, Business models come into place. As a visionary and having these ideas, I use that time to think through it. And then how do you turn an idea into an action plan, into a business
Hmm.
plan? Who are the partners that I need to align with? And then I start setting up those meetings. So yeah, there's just a lot of layers. And the interesting thing is there's so many of these layers that I do before I ever bring it to my team. Because to me, I want to make sure that it's a viable idea. I tell people that my vision for our organization is so great that if I shared that with our team right now, they would run out the front door screaming. And so, for me, it's how do we continue to grow and serve and to do that how we're supposed to do it, and still maintain all the programs that we already have in place that our kids depend on. And it's a fine balance. But yeah, so to me, that's really where all the thinking time comes in, of just figuring it out. What does that look like? And doing a lot of research. I am a huge researcher of if I have an idea, who's doing this? Is there anyone doing this? First of all, in our community that I can partner with instead of revamping it. Or, is there a model program that we could bring in and work with that? What I have found though is everything we do with Kids to Love, um, for instance, K-Tech, no one was doing anything in that world. So we developed a workforce training initiative that was unlike any other. And, in 3 years, we've awarded over 100 certifications. It wasn't an easy model. There's a ton of think time, ton of partners that had to come on board to see the vision and embrace that. And the same thing with Davidson Farms. We serve our girls with excellence. We're not a traditional group home at all. We brought a new girl in this week, and the social worker came in, and she was just floored at the quality and the level that we serve our girls. So for us, it's doing nonprofit work with excellence, and those two terms don't always go together. But it's
Hmm.
it's what I feel called to, how I feel called to do it. And if I look at worst case scenario, if that was me, how would I want my kids to be treated? Um, it could have easily been me to grow up in that situation. And what opportunities did my adoptive family give me that I would have, not had I not been adopted? And so, for me, it's very personal. There's a lot of retrospect, introspect to make sure that how we do things is with excellence and operating in a realm of integrity. Those are things that are critical to me. And I think as we navigate this difficult time, we really all have to go back to our core values of what makes us as a person happy. I think you're going to see a lot of people make some life transitions during
Hmm.
this time because they're going to have time to think. They're going
Yes.
to have time to evaluate. The hamster's going to come off the wheel for a little while and you can kind of rest.
Yes.
Um, so, I just anticipate a lot of new ideas, energy coming out of this. That's what I'm planning on, and not
Hmm.
looking at this as a negative thing, but really looking at it as an opportunity to finally get caught up on some things.
Hmm.
And then, like I said earlier, plan for the next step that I just can't wait to tell you about, but not right now.
No, absolutely.
Stay tuned. Stay
Yes,
tuned.
yes, we will. And you're absolutely right. I mean, it's an unfortunate situation from a health perspective for a lot of people, but in terms of businesses and careers, this is and should be a great jumping off point for a lot of people to start realizing those dreams that they kind of had dormant, that they put on the shelf because they were too busy running hard every day, doing things on autopilot. So taking this time to really think is going to allow them to um, really start working toward those. And I feel like we could talk all day. There's so much great information that you share that I can keep asking questions about and go deeper, but we're run out of time. So Lee, it's been a pleasure having you on here. I know if people want
Anytime,
to
brother.
find thank you, thank you, thank you. I know if people want to find information about Kids to Love, they can go to the website kidstolove.org. Where else can they find information? How they can learn more about you guys, get in contact with you?
We're very social, so our Facebook page, Instagram accounts, those are the best ways to really plug in and to get a heart of how we serve, and then volunteer opportunities. You can go over the edge with us. I know you've already got the
Yes.
team set up in September. It is the ultimate social distancing activity to scale 14 stories off the Regions building in downtown. So over the
Yes.
edge is happening. Like, we're committed. It's happening.
That's exciting. That's exciting. If you want to test your taking action in spite of fear,
That's right.
that is the place to
Embrace
get to
it.
it. That's exactly right. That's the place to do it. Thank you all so much, Lee. It's been a pleasure, and I can't wait
Anytime.
till we do this again sometime. But have a great day. We'll talk soon.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.